everyone, it's Katie from Katie Writes Stuff, and wow, it's really windy outside. But I also have a whole bunch of things to show you that I made in July, so let's get started with that and ignore the wind. As you may have noticed, I'm still Katie Writes Stuff, but I'm planning to change the channel name and my name here very soon. It will be So Old Fashioned, because I like the idea of puns and old stuff. And no, it doesn't mention knitting, but to be fair, I probably talk more about sewing than knitting, so I thought that would work for me. So that will be happening soon. Don't be surprised when So Old Fashioned shows up in your subscription box, because that will be me. But let's get to the actual point of the thing, which is everything I made in July. Now, I've said for a couple of weeks, it's going to be so many things. You're going to have 6 cups of tea ready or something like that. When I say so many things, I mean in relation to me, and that means basically this list, minus 1. But that is a lot for me. This is pretty much probably more than I made last year. So for me to make that in a month makes me pretty happy. I'm pretty proud of myself for what I've done this month and what I'm going to do next month, and I'm just like on an incredible roll. But we'll start off with what I'm wearing, which you've seen before. It's my beloved stripy jumper of amazing sleeves. And I'm wearing it because I love it, and also because it's sort of like a child of June and July. While I finished knitting it in June, I didn't finish sewing it up until July. So I thought, why not wear it again? Because I, to be honest, have been wearing it a lot anyway. So that's the first one. If you'd like to see it in more detail, there are a couple of shots on my Instagram because it's also my sew back project garment. That would work, wouldn't it? Yes. And my June makes video, there are some photos there as well if you'd like to see more of the stripy amazingness, and I wouldn't blame you if you would, because I love it so much. Have I mentioned I love it? Yes. Okay, so we'll go into some things that I was going to say that you haven't seen, but that's a lie. You have seen the first one as well. I believe I wore it in last week's video, and it is the Dinosaur top, which I love to bits. I made this from McCall's 6964, which is a Palmer Pletch fashion fits pattern, and I really love this pattern. I've cut out a long sleeve version to make out of the spectacles fabric, which I showed a couple of months ago, I believe, but you'll be able to see it in my August makes as well. I'm probably on Instagram if you follow me there, but I really enjoyed this pattern. This is what I was hoping for when I made that new look dress pattern, and it actually talks about how to sew with knits. And I would recommend this to anyone who's starting out with knits, because you basically don't get to the sewing until about 3 A1 pages. It's all about fitting it and how to adjust things that aren't working. It actually has the lines you need for a full bust adjustment on the pattern pieces, so you can just cut those if you want to do that. You can cut out, it has lines for darts for a sway back or a hollow back as well. It's incredible. It is actually telling you lots of things that will help you when you're not sewing with knits, and I thought that was absolutely fabulous. I decided to just make it as it was and see how it fitted me, see if I needed to do anything, and I didn't really, because it's a knit, so you don't really need to do much fitting when you get right down to it. And yeah, I'm making another one, so clearly I love it. McCall's 6964, highly recommend it. If you want to get into sewing with knits, it's a really nice hand-holding pattern, and there are quite a lot of variations, so when it gets a bit warmer I can make some short sleeve t-shirts instead of the long sleeve ones I'm making at the moment. The only pattern you'll ever need for t-shirts. I might be exaggerating there, but no, if you only get one, get this one. My next garment I made in a bit of a rush. I realised it was the night before I was leaving for my holiday with my friends, and I did not have any pyjama pants. Because inevitably when we're all away together, there'll be some point where everyone decides wearing all these normal real clothes is a bit too much and we all get into our pajamas. And that's why these getaways are so fabulous. And I thought it's going to be awkward if I don't have any pajama pants. So I decided to make a pair that I've been planning to make forever. Or maybe a year, but that feels like forever in the sewing world sometimes. And I have this fabulous Madame Weigel's pattern. I probably put this around the late 40s, just going from the illustrations. It is actually a size that would fit me, but when I was tracing it out onto some trace and twirl, I decided to put in probably about that much, whatever that is, because I wanted really, really baggy, floppy pants And that is what I got. Because they're that sort of style anyway, they were already pretty wide, because it's a sort of the 1940s style of trousers, which is really wide-legged and floppy and fabulous. And because I'd added the extra width, it was even more so. And I love them. Oh, I should show you what they look like. Maybe you'd like that. I made it from this fabulous flannelette with little sheepies. It's meant to have elastic, but I did a drawstring with a bit of elastic at the back, so I didn't have to undo it to remove them. And for the hem, I thought I wanted a little feature. I don't have any ribbon, so that's something I'm going to be looking out for in secondhand shops now, so the trims and decorative things I can use. But I did have this really cute pink and white polka dot bias binding, because apparently I'm all about the polka dots these days. So I used that to sort of hide the hem stitching, as it were, so just some top stitching over the bias binding, and I thought that looked fabulously cute. And I made them very quickly, because if there's one good thing about pajama pants, they're very quick to make. Really, really quick to make. And these are basically one piece. Well, obviously you have to cut two of them or you'd only have one leg, but yeah, it was so much fun. I was so glad they came together really easily. And I got to wear them when I was away, and they were so cozy, and they're covered in sheep, so they're amazing. Love these very much. If you're ever looking for a quick, satisfying make, a pair of pajama pants is my recommendation. I'm going to mix things up today. Instead of just doing knitting and sewing, I'll go a bit of both, which I've already done anyway. And I'll say that my next make was a pair of socks, because I love making socks. They're so satisfying. My hands have been feeling a bit achy from making this jumper, and I made a cardigan before, and I normally have a big and a little project, so my hands get a bit of a rest and a bit of a change in knitting, and I hadn't been doing that lately. I'd just been powering ahead on one project, and I felt like my hands weren't quite coping, and because I value my hands and their ability to do all these crafty things, I wanted to give them a rest. So I knitted some nice socks on nice light wooden needles. That's harder to say than you might think. In nice light 4-ply. Now this pattern is one I sort of put together myself, and it fits my feet perfectly. The yarn I've used, I believe, is called Pyjama Magic, and it creates this sort of Fair Isle pattern by itself. And it's so nice and soft. It's my favourite sock wool, Pyjama Isle. I can't go past it. It's fabulous. And I like to do a contrasting heel and toe, because it means you don't get weird breaks in the pattern when you're doing the heel, because you actually take the stitches off and continue down to do the heel. So when you join back up at this bit, which has been just sitting on needles, it doesn't necessarily flow on and look normal, but it does if you have contrasting colour. And who doesn't like contrasting colours? And this blue that I used matches perfectly with the blue in the pattern, because it's the same type of wool, but it's also TARDIS blue, because I made a pair of TARDIS socks for my friend at work for Christmas. I'll put a photo of them in here so you can see them, and I'll list the pattern below if you're interested in making them, which I recommend. Socks probably take me about a week. They're much easier to knit than you think, because you're basically doing rows and rows and rows and rows of knit, and I love wearing them at the end. And it's still very much sock wearing season here, so that was a very satisfying make. And now we come to the final two makes, and I'm counting this as one, not two. Of course, I had to make some underwear from the Dinosaur fabric that you saw a little earlier in this video. And one set of dinosaurs is up the right way, and one set of dinosaurs is up the wrong way, because if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I discovered there was an amazing way I could put the pieces together that wasted hardly any fabric and does not work on directional fabric even remotely. And then I subsequently went out and bought 4.5 meters of directional fabric. I am incapable of buying plain fabric. It's a real problem, but let me find the ones that are up the right way. There we go, there they are. They've just come out of the dryer, so they're a bit sort of bouncy as they were. And I use this fabulous elastic that I got at a second-hand shop, and it's not pico elastic. It has a sort of pink ruffle up the top. It's really cute. Not necessarily the right colour to match, and you don't think of pink ruffles when you think of dinosaurs, but it came out nicely. The only issue I'm finding with the elastic that I've got from second-hand shops is it's not as robust as you might like, probably because the elastic's sort of fraying, not fraying, but sort of decaying a little, and it's not as elastic as you might like. So that's a bit of a downer, so I've had to buy new elastic. to go with all the other underwear that I'm planning to make. Now my final make is sitting behind me on my sewing box here, and I'm going to count it as finished because it's not quite the end of July yet, but literally all I'm doing is the hem. And my main problem is I had enough bias binding to do the hem, except for that much of it. And then when I was looking through some knitting patterns earlier, I found a packet of bias binding that's almost the same colour. And so I've chucked that on there, and I will be sewing that up this afternoon so I can finish off that skirt. That skirt cost me so much money. The pattern probably cost about $1 at a second-hand shop, and the fabric itself maybe $2 at a garage sale. Pretty sure I got the zip from a second-hand shop somewhere too, because I just pulled it out of my stash. So super cheap skirt, and I sewed it all up on my Singer 201P, which is from 1958. I'm looking forward to doing my Sew Vintage videos on that machine to start with, because it's, I don't know, I like working with it. The stitches are so nice, it's just beautiful. But I made that with Vogue 1990, which, as I said, I got for about $1 at a second-hand shop, and I love this pattern. It's so pretty, and I tried it on. I just went, oh, it's just so nice, and all the markings on the pattern were just perfection. I remember I was sewing the pockets in, and because I do tailor tacks for all my markings, which is so much better than chalk, they stay there, and I was using them to position the foot when I was sewing around the pocket, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a miracle, it came out at the right point. And it's not a miracle, it's because Vogue's put all these points on that will allow things to come into the right position at the right time for the right result. I know they're expensive, but when you work with them and you really appreciate the details, I think you understand why they're expensive. But I absolutely adore this pattern, and I have a piece of fabric out on the line that's drying, probably be dry in about 2 seconds in the crazy wind that's going on at the moment. And I'm looking forward to making another one for August because it's just so pretty. It has lovely pleats, it has a lovely shape, the waistband is shaped perfectly, the pockets are amazing. I love it, I love it, I love it. If you're after a really, really nice skirt with pleated details and pockets, look out for Vogue 1990 because it's just gorgeous. And those are all of my makes for July, and I'm pretty excited with how much I managed to achieve. I'm hoping I can keep up the momentum and we'll have a lot of things to show you next month as well. But in the meantime, I hope you're all enjoying your crafting and sewing and knitting as much as I am. I hope you're having a fabulous time. I hope you're not getting blown away if you're also in Australia right now, because it's very windy in my area of it right now. May have mentioned that once or twice. Have a lovely week. Find lots of times to sit down and just enjoy the process of making things. And I'll catch up with you all again next week when I should be coming to you as the So Old Fashioned channel. I will see you all then. Goodbye.